Hello everyone, today I want to share my Lyney build and team compositions with you in this short guide. As always, I start with the build, then go over team compositions and show some Abyss gameplay at the end.
I'm going in! Let's light it up! You're toast!
Solidify!
Now disappear! A round of applause!
As for the build, it's a pretty standard DPS build. As always, your most desirable stats will be crit rate and crit damage, and on top of that Lyney wants attack and pyro damage bonus, and that's basically it. He seems to be very efficient at generating energy, so energy recharge isn't really needed. If you have like 120 or 130%, it's perfectly reasonable, but if you go beyond that, it's starting to feel like a little bit of a waste. Same thing for elemental mastery. It's generally a very desired stat, so I assume you have a lot of it on your artifacts. And especially if you run the Wondrous Troop set, you will end up like me with a significant amount of elemental mastery, but it's not the end of the world. Just know Lyney usually wants to target something affected by pyro, otherwise his passive skill doesn't really do much, which means he doesn't really want to trigger elemental reaction, hence why elemental mastery isn't really a desired stat for this character. As for talents, of course, this character is all about charge attack, so level up the normal attack chain first. After this, the elemental burst skill, it does very respectable damage. I randomly hit for 200k with it on this build, so I wouldn't even be surprised if you could build some fun team around it with Lyney on a stringless bow and an Emblem of Severed Fate set and see how high that number can go. And after this, it's the elemental skill, not quite as impressive, but still worth leveling. It's decent damage. As for Constellations, after just reading them, it seems like at least one of them seems crazy good, like stupid good, but let's start with the least impressive one for now. It's just Pyro Resistant Shred. We've seen this before. I think Ganyu has something similar. Then Constellation 6, it's a mini Pyrotechnic Strike on every charge attack, which is very good, but kind of reasonable for Constellation 6. And then we have Constellation 1, which doubles the amount of heads summoned by the charge attack, which at first sounds crazy, but then you stumble across the 15 seconds internal cooldown, which still means it's good, but we haven't left the reasonable territory quite yet. Where that happens is at Constellation 2. It's essentially just 60% free crit damage on a Constellation 2, because this is what this is. The condition behind this is you just need to be on field, which is something Lyney kind of needs to be anyway, so just 60% free crit damage is a little ridiculous in my opinion. As for weapon options, if you randomly got yourself a Skyward Harp like me, then it's obviously great for the high base attack and crit damage. Otherwise, for easy accessible 4-star options, I think Hamayumi is great. I obviously was too lazy here to unlock it, but it's like an Inazuma quest chain that is like daily time gated or something for like a week, and you unlock a recipe to craft a bow with a lot of charge attack damage, which will be great for this character. As for artifacts, we already covered substats earlier. As for main stats, you definitely want attack percentage here, pyro damage bonus in this slot, and in the last one, crit rate or crit damage, whichever one balances your stats better. And since Lyney gets a lot of free crit rate upon Ascension, I think it's very likely that crit damage will be the better choice here. As for the set, Wondrous Troop is very solid. Otherwise, the new set, I hope I won't butcher this name, the Maréchaussée Hunter, I think. Excusez-moi, French people, please don't bring out the guillotine. I don't know French that well, but this seems to be very good for him as well. As for team compositions, I think Lyney teams are very straightforward. Thanks to his passive skill, he wants to be together with other pyro characters. I think you want at least one other pyro character to double dip between his passive skill and pyro resonance, and of course the best utility pyro character by far is Bennett. I think these two pretty much have to go together, so you already have a healer utility character and a main DPS, so you're only looking for other sub-DPS or utility characters. And now I'll just quickly go over some really good options that you can kind of mix and match as you see fit. First, some DPS. Of course, when thinking about pyro characters, there's only one sub-DPS worth mentioning, Xiangling, one of the best characters in the game. And as for others, like for example Rosaria, she does really good melt damage in this team and has some really good utility on top of that. Of course, a crit rate buff, and if you have like 66% crit rate on Rosaria, Lyney will get 10% extra crit rate, which is really nice, especially if you think about the damage she is doing on top of that. As for utility characters, you have something like Kazuha for extra pyro damage and the Viridescent set for resistant shred, and kind of doing the same is Zhongli with the Archaic Petra set for the extra pyro damage bonus and his shield for resistant shred and obviously resistance to interruption, which is really nice to have for a bow character doing charge attacks because they are obviously easily interrupted. And it's just a very sturdy team between Zhongli having his shield and Bennett his healing. This is my personal favorite team. Rosaria Melt seems to be performing a little bit better than a mono pyro team, obviously because of the melt reaction, but Lyney also seems to have enough pyro application on his charge attacks to keep pyro active on the target to complement his passive skill while Rosaria is melting, which is the whole reason why this team is so good and has so much cross synergy in my mind. Obviously, one future thought I have is when you have a Geo character in your team with Zhongli, you could obviously aim to get a Geo resonance in the future. Right now we don't have any good utility characters or sub-DPS characters that synergize with Lyney, but again, it might be a good thing to keep in mind for the future. As for the showcase, essentially there isn't too much to know about this character. You will just deal a lot of charge attack damage, and there are two ways. You can deal charge attack damage by consuming HP, and this will increase this counter, which goes up to 5, and each number increases your elemental skill damage. And if you don't increase the counter because you don't have above 60% HP, it's not that big of a deal. Your charge attack damage will still be the same, but you just don't increase your elemental skill damage. And the other mechanic is you can cancel your Q skill, your elemental burst skill early by just pressing the elemental skill. That's pretty much all you need to know. So with this in mind, you obviously want to have a lot of healing in your team. That's why Bennett is so great, because you constantly lose HP by dealing charge attack damage. So let's do this now. Let's press the burst skill. You cancel it early with the elemental skill, and that happens. And yeah, let's just do some charge attack. And as you see, the counter goes up, we are at 60% HP, and the counter doesn't go up anymore. And for now, I'm gonna leave you with some Abyss gameplay, and I don't know what happened here. I seem to be a little bit confused or something because I messed up rotations left and right. Obviously, Rosaria's burst skill does snapshot, so you want to get your utility out first. For example, Bennett's burst skill and then Rosaria's burst skill, so that Rosaria benefits from the attack buff. I did it the other way around here quite a few times, and you don't want to do this, is what I'm getting at.
Stabilize!
Everybody stand! You can't run! Lights out.
Order guide you!
And voila!
Magic can't cheat.
Gather!
Yeah! Let's light it up! Going in! Punishment! You can't run!
Here comes the finale. Now disappear. Stay calm.
I will have order! Solidify!
Kick shiver! Teamwork is dreamwork!
A round of applause.
Alright, we made it to the end. I hope this gave you some inspiration for your own bits. Stay tuned for more videos. Until then, have fun and bye bye.